What concrete capabilities is NATO developing to counter the new security challenges? Will NATO actually have capabilities in this area, or will it act as a coordinating mechanism? Well, I said that all of the good questions were coming from the United States. I correct myself because Zach from London, I think, has asked a very pertinent question. Well, Zach, you're right to the extent that you can't, if you like, deal with these emerging security challenges with one piece of equipment. You know, imagine in the Cold War days, you had a Soviet tank. What was the answer? A NATO tank. Or imagine looking at missile threats. Obviously, a missile defense system is a large part of the answer. So yes, there you can sort of match a capability with a capability in a way that deters the threat or allows you to defend yourself. This doesn't happen, of course, with the new security challenges. There's no one single technology which is going to stop terrorist attacks, although certain technologies like detecting suicide bombers in mass transportation systems, which is a technology that NATO actually has developed with Russia, by the way, it's called Standex. These things can obviously help, but you require what we often call in the jargon a multi-stakeholder approach here. One aspect, for example, is better intelligence. We need to be able to track not only where aircraft are going or tanks are going, but where individuals are going. And let me tell you that it takes an intelligence agency 100,000 times more pieces of data to track an individual than it does to track an aircraft. So it's a vastly greater problem, particularly when you think that in today's world, in the age of globalization and no borders, you can be attacked by anybody from anywhere. Cyber is a classic case in point where anybody with a computer, a modem, and a couple of internet hacking skills are operating from his or her basement can cause potentially large-scale disruption. So yes, there are technologies, but we need to go well beyond that. I mean, one area where we need to go beyond that, of course, is also in training and education. For example, it's easy to find a soldier to drive a tank. It's much more difficult to find a skilled cyber defense operator. These require, very, very rare skills. And one of the things that we need to look at in future, for example, in the cyber domain, is how we can use our university system, our higher education system, to train more people who are competent in this area and would be prepared to have careers in this area. We need to adjust our skill set, if you like, on the defensive side, the same way that organised criminal gangs have very skillfully adjusted their skill sets to be able to sort of steal your identity or your credit card details, penetrate your systems and steal all of your secrets in a world like the cyber world. The other thing, when I replied to a question earlier, I said it takes a network to defeat a network. And one other aspect, which is very new, is cooperation with the private sector. In the old days, NATO didn't really need to talk to industry except when it was building a tank. But if you're dealing, for example, with cyber issues, 85%, 90% of the networks are owned by the private sector. Many of our weapon systems operate on Windows 2.0. The private sector often has the expertise, the capabilities that you require. And therefore, instead of going to them every 40 years when you need to build a new helicopter, you have to develop a permanent partnership with them. Look around. You see increasingly security as a partnership between government and the private sector. Armed guards on ships, for example, in the Gulf of Aden, working with the NATO military is another example of that. And partnerships, of course, when we're dealing with threats that can occur anywhere across the globe, having partners who may have experienced the malware first and who tip you off so that you know what to expect, these global networks become increasingly important. So yes, capabilities are important, but the intellectual intelligence capabilities are arguably more important than the physical hardware, which was so much a focus, of course, of NATO's defence during the Cold War years.